The biggest risk to the survival of the Camp David Treaty comes from politics inside Egypt. Specifically, if the Egyptian president or the ruling Muslim Brotherhood feels itself weak domestically or under fire for its cooperation with the U.S. or Israel, then it might resort to a more nationalist, populist approach that could really lead down a dangerous path. It could lead them to threaten the treaty. They said before they came into power that they might, for example, submit it to a public referendum, which is a move that Israel would find very dangerous and that might truly wreck the treaty. So it's important for the United States to have a close working relationship with President Morsi and the Egyptian government, but it's even more important that the United States engage broadly and build a consensus across Egypt's political elite for why this treaty remains in Egypt's interests. The first thing that's important is to improve direct Egyptian-Israeli communication about what's happening along their shared border and how the two of them can focus and work together on the main security threat that they face, which is no longer a war from the other side. It is a terrorist threat that affects them both. Now, that's already led Israel to agree to the stationing of more Egyptian forces in the northern Sinai. But there are other steps that each side can take and that they need to cooperate on and communicate more about if they're going to have a productive relationship and a relationship of trust in this uncertain environment. If things really go over the cliff and there's a direct military confrontation between Egyptian and Israeli forces, or if one side actually ruptures this negotiated agreement, how does the U.S. respond? Well, the first thing is to get a separation of forces and prevent any further escalation. The U.S. can do that directly, working with the two sides, and also using the multinational observer force that is in the Sinai as a guarantor to the peace treaty right now. The second thing that needs to happen is to prevent any of these terrorist groups from taking advantage of a crisis to wreak havoc by launching their own attacks. That requires getting the two sides focused on that threat, but it also means drawing in others who have influence over actors in Gaza and in the Sinai, particularly the Gulf states that have good relations with the Hamas ruling power in Gaza. The third thing, though, is to ensure that any rupture in Egyptian-Israeli peace doesn't have broader ripple effects in the region. And the next target, of course, would be the Jordanian-Israeli peace treaty. Jordan is facing incredibly precarious domestic politics already. Public sentiment against peace with Israel is even stronger there than it is in Egypt. And so it would be very important for the other states in the region to voice their support for continued Jordanian-Israeli peace and to support the Jordanian government if it's facing public pressure to follow in Egypt's path.